When we think about cybersecurity, it's easy to picture this epic battle, right? The good guys over here, the bad guys over there. But what if I told you the most critical vulnerability, the most dangerous conflict, isn't happening out on the digital front lines? What if it's happening right inside the command center?
So, who exactly are these guardians? Well, whenever a company or a government is under attack, there's a whole team of people, an army really, whose only job is to stand on that digital wall 24/7, protecting our data, our infrastructure, our entire digital lives from a relentless storm of threats. And these teams work in a place called a Security Operations Center, or a SOC for short. Honestly, the best way to picture it is like the mission control for cyber defense. It's the central hub, packed with experts, watching screens, hunting for threats, and jumping on any sign of trouble, any time of day or night.
And that brings us to the real mystery we're unpacking today. See, a recent study went deep inside these SOCs, and what they found was, well, pretty shocking. It turns out the biggest risk might not be some super sophisticated malware. Nope, it might actually be a quiet conflict, a civil war almost, happening between the very people who are supposed to be on the same team. Okay, let's get into it.
First things first, before we can get into the drama, we kind of need to understand the setting. So let's take a quick look inside one of these command centers to see how they're actually set up. So at its core, a SOC is just that, a central command post for all things security. It's a mix of people, established processes, and a whole lot of technology, all with one goal: to stop cyber threats before they happen, and if they do, to shut them down fast. It's really like a digital immune system for an organization. And here's how it usually works. Most SOCs run on a tier system, kind of like an escalation ladder. At the bottom, you've got your Tier 1 analysts. They're the frontline soldiers, watching the alerts pour in and doing the first quick check. If something looks really nasty or just plain weird, they kick it up the ladder to Tier 2. These are the detectives, the incident responders who dig deep. And for the really, really bad stuff, that goes all the way up to Tier 3 and beyond. These are the elite specialists, the threat hunters who go looking for trouble before it even starts. On paper, it's a perfect, efficient system for dealing with chaos. Or is it? And this is where the story takes a turn. Because that neat and tidy escalation ladder we just talked about, turns out it's got some pretty shaky rungs. Let's look at this tale of two very different perspectives inside the SOC. Researchers sat down and had some really long, in-depth talks with people from both sides of the fence. The analysts in the trenches doing the day-to-day grind, and the managers who are supposed to be leading them. And what they uncovered was a whole series of inherent disagreements on some of the most fundamental parts of their job. And check this out. This chart really quantifies that disconnect. The study pinpointed 3 main areas where managers and analysts are just on completely different planets. The number one thing they fight about? Automation. Right behind that is how they measure success, and rounding out the top 3 is the functionality of the very tools they have to rely on every day. Let's break these down. Okay, first up, automation. Get this, a whopping 78% of managers want more of it. One of them put it really simply: I always need more automation. But then you talk to the people actually doing the work, only a third of analysts agree. They see it as a buzzword that vendors are pushing. And one was even worried that with too much automation, you're getting less quality. They're concerned it's a silver bullet that doesn't actually hit the target. Next, performance metrics. So how do you measure if you're doing a good job? Well, managers love their hard numbers. Number of incidents closed, mean time to respond, that sort of thing. But the analysts, they call these useless metrics. One analyst felt that managers use these numbers just to make it seem like your SOC is improving, when the numbers don't capture how severe or complex each threat really is. And finally, their tools. 2/3 of managers reported major problems with their tech. One manager's critical CM tool, their main dashboard for everything, was down for a whole week. But the analysts? They have a completely different take. They just see these as bumps in the road. As one analyst put it, if a tool set does not work, we always are to do it manually. So what a manager sees as a critical failure, the analyst just sees as a workaround. So we've got this deep divide on automation, metrics, and tools. I mean, it sounds like they agree on absolutely nothing. But here's the twist. Amidst all this friction, there is one massive critical problem that they both see with perfect clarity. And this isn't just some other small issue. This is the issue. The one challenge that both sides agree is fundamentally undermining their entire operation. 71.4%.
That's the percentage of analysts who pointed to one single problem: low visibility. In plain English, you can protect what you can't see. And this is the great unifier. Both managers and analysts agree that not having a complete map of all the devices and the full layout of the network is their single biggest handicap.
So why is visibility so hard? I mean, shouldn't they know what's on their own network? Well, this quote from an analyst just says it all. In big, complex organizations, people find workarounds. Somebody in another department will just throw some routers to get the networks working. And boom, just like that, there's a whole new part of the network that the security team doesn't even know exists. It's a massive, uncontrolled blind spot. All right, so we have these deep disagreements on one hand and one critical point of agreement on the other. The question is, what now? Let's explore how to start fixing not just the technical gaps, but the human ones too. Well, the study provides some clear, actionable advice. First, bridge that communication gap. Managers need to explain why they use certain metrics to get rid of that feeling of unfairness. Second, solve the one problem they all agree on. Invest in better technology for asset discovery to fix the visibility crisis. Third, develop better, more hands-on training because analysts are saying the current programs just aren't working. And finally, let's acknowledge reality. 15 out of the 18 people interviewed said phishing is still the most common attack they face. So maybe, just maybe, focus the training and defenses there. And that leaves us with a final thought. We spend billions on the most advanced security tools money can buy. But this look inside the sock suggests that maybe, just maybe, the strength of our digital defenses has less to do with the tools we use and everything to do with whether the people using them are even fighting the same fight.